Hello everybody, welcome to the county seat. I'm your host Chad Booth. With the primary elections coming up right away, and many of Utah's key races technically end up being decided at the primary election, we thought we would take a look at some changes in the way voting is taking place. In particular, Duchesne County, which is the first county to go to a completely mail-in ballot system. So joining us today to cover the topic of the changes in voting and the process of voting, we're joined by Thomas Winterton, who is a representative for the Utah, the Central Committee for the Republican Party, representing Duchesne County. We also have Joanne Evans, who's the Chief Deputy Clerk from Duchesne County, and Commissioner Ron Winterton from Duchesne County. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So you kind of ended up in a hot seat here with this change. It's created a little bit of controversy in Duchesne County?
It has. We've received a lot of comments. So why did we do this? Our particular circumstances were a little bit unique in the fact that in redistricting, they cut our small county into three congressional or House districts, and so it changed the format in which how are you going to have those ballots for everybody, whether right across the street you could be voting for some other representative, and so we were trying to tackle that. We started this process back in probably November. How are we going to handle this, knowing that we were going to have something, but we didn't know what.
Exactly what I was going to.
And so I believe it was Joanne that came up with, well, this would be an easy solution. Well, it's not an easy solution. We found out that it's created a lot of work, extra work, a lot of coordination with the Postal Service. Our GIS departments had to come up with, well, a lot of work because of
addressing issues.
Well, I think this is an area where people really, I mean, elections are an area that people don't really understand anyway as to what goes into an election. They see the voting booth, you pull the curtain, I have the right to vote, and they leave it at that. So maybe we can talk about how elections have traditionally transpired in Duchesne County, which would be typical for most of the counties across the state. What does in the past until now, what does an election look like, Joanne?
In the past, it's the same process happens up to a point. We have to start about 6 months in advance to start meeting deadlines and preparing the ballots and making sure that the caucuses are happening and that names are being given to us for the primary election and that we have the correct information as far as that goes on the ballot. Preparations as far as the old way was we had to prepare the voting machines. We had to LNA them, do testing on them for the public, and so that they had confidence in those machines. And we had to train our poll workers and teach people how this process works for the primary, because the primary actually is a lot different than the general election. So we would have to take all this time to prepare all those people and to prepare the equipment and to prepare the polling locations that we needed to have, and they had to meet certain requirements. And so doing all by mail has eliminated out most of that.
So is there a cost saving, you think, long range for this?
Yes, we're expecting, this first year is a little different because we are trying to inform the voters, and so the cost is a little different. We won't see the savings until the next general election, but we're expecting between $15,000 and $20,000 cost savings.
That's fairly significant.
For a small county, that's
yeah. So just as a kind of a quick wrap up then, the elections in the past have been done by voting machines, either electronic or punch card.
Right.
And you've also offered early voting and
yes.
absentee voting, and so there has been a component of mail-in voting in the past, right?
Right. By mail is actually the same as absentee. The only difference between the two is that for absentee, you have to fill out an application to say this is where I want my ballot to go. For by mail, we're just sending it to your home.
Okay, well, very good. Now that we've covered the basis of how that works, We'll come back and talk about more in detail what the change means for the county. And we'll be right back with the county seat in just a minute.
Let's be honest, you don't know much about Beaver County. Well, let me tell you about it. It's the birthplace of outlaw Butch Cassidy and inventor Philo T. Farnsworth. Some of the best skiing in Utah is at Eagle Point. You've got camping, Canyon Breeze Golf Course, Crusher and the Tushers, Beaver Territorial Courthouse, snowmobiling, renewable energy, Pioneer Car Show, Squeaky Cheese, Ghost Towns to explore, best water in the country, Paiute ATV trails, Old Frisco Kilns, horse racing, hunting, fishing, and it's a good place to live. Beaver County, mountains of fun. I could tell you more, but why don't you come and see it for yourself?
Believe it or not, summer isn't far away, and neither is Juab County. There's no need to travel far to find that perfect family adventure. June 30th, get your blood pumping at the Juab County Extreme Enduro. You've never seen a race like this. In mid-July, join us for our Ute Stampede Rodeo. And then in August, there's the big Demolition Derby that wraps up our county fair. Juab County. It'll change your family forever.
The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration. SITLA manages 3.5 million acres of Utah lands with the express purpose of furthering the education of Utah students while promoting local industry, oil and gas, even residential development, all at the same time. Through the careful use of trust lands, we distributed more than $22 million to Utah schools last year. The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration, building the state's permanent school fund.
Cedar City, Utah is home of the Tony Award-winning Utah Shakespeare Festival. But did you know that we also offer a different kind of play?